I've been playing the latest BT6 DLC called Rogue Legends, and today I want to talk about it. Now, before recording this video, Ninja Kiwi actually released a teaser of the upcoming DLC on their socials, and it reveals a lot of things of how this thing is going to work. So today, let me just give you guys my experience with BT6 Rogue Legends, the new DLC, and I'm also going to talk over the trailer, so things that they have shown themselves, and maybe try and give a little bit of context, but not too much as of what is happening inside of that DLC. Now, before we begin, this video is going to be actually a map showcase, and this is a showcase of a map called Head in the Clouds, which is a BT5 map and it's a recreation BT6, and I'm just going to have both of the maps here in front of you guys so that you guys can see how good of a copy of the map this is. And this was made by an account called King Schnarf. Now, this is an account in BT6 that I've been following for a long time. I think I've actually done map showcases from this account previously, and they are amazing at doing like these clones of previous BT maps, but also they have some original content. So I wanted to do a showcase of this map specifically. So I'm going to put the map code here on the screen if you guys want to check it out. And obviously do give King Schnarf a follow because they're making some amazing looking maps. Now, finally, let's move on to the DLC, the Rogue Legends, which essentially Ninja Kiwi did in a way leak themselves like a huge portion of how the system is going to work, but the system is absolutely huge. You guys can see that your party consists of Quincy and then two different monkeys, and there's like this hexagon thingy, which we're gonna get to that in a second. So basically what this means is that each hero comes with their own party, and actually I think that they show it like later down the trailer. Yeah, there we go. So they're gonna start going through all of these heroes, and you guys are noticing that each time they're choosing a new hero, a different loadout appears or a different set of towers, and usually these towers are either gonna fix a problem that the hero has. Like, for example, you guys might remember that they showed Quincy, and Quincy has a 002 boomerang with him, and that's because Quincy has no lead popping power, right? So it's like a nice thingy to have. But also sometimes these additional towers can be in a way strengthening the hero itself, where they can allow you to do some sort of a strategy. Like, for example, this is the Jiangxi Soda skin, and I guess the first thing that you guys are noticing is that Soda, or I should say original, the normal Soda, and then the Jiangxi Soda skin have a different loadout. There's like over 40 starting combinations that you can do in this DLC, which is absolutely insane. So you can see the Jiangxi Soda skin starting with a 020 Ice Tower, and then she's starting with a 002 Wizard. So now that you've picked Jiangxi Soda, you guys can see a couple of things in this next screen, which is called Starter Artifacts, and you can choose from a lot of these guys. Actually, I think in their Twitter post they mentioned that it is 60 artifacts in total, or maybe over 60, I don't exactly remember, but it is a lot of artifacts that you can choose from, so the options just right off the get-go are just enormous. Jiangxi Soda's artifact is called Homebrew Alchemy Common. So common obviously refers to the rarity, which yes, it means there are different rarities of these things, and what this thing does is that the alchemist attack reload time and ability cooldowns are reduced by 20% with a 1 in 20 chance to crit for 50 times damage, and it also adds a 101 alchemist to your party. Now, I'm actually going to talk about this in a second, but let's just play the video and just move along. So they're clicking on a couple of different artifacts. Like, for example, this is an interesting one. This is called Cat's Meow, a rare one. I haven't seen this one in actual gameplay, but it says it sets the maximum lives to 9, but any bloon leaked only counts as 1 life regardless of RB. So what this means is that you can leak a ceramic bloon and it's going to count as 1, which is insane. And then a lot of different more. I'm not going to go through all of these guys, but you guys can pause the video if you want to check them out yourself. And then right now they're going into a bloon encounter, which is essentially when you start playing the DLC. So this is very similar to a BT6 game. You're actually still playing BT6 in a way, but you're playing a roguelike BT6, which is kind of the whole point of this. And that brings us to this screen, which is a screen that if you guys have played like roguelikes, you probably know how it works. And that's like, this is like pretty much the definition of a roguelike, in which you just, you have your character or whatever it is, and then as you're progressing, as you're playing through the game, you're encountering like all of these buffs or upgrades or whatever it's going to be, and they're going to make your character stronger, right? And that's exactly what's happening in, well, BT6 roguelikes. You have an option, you have these 3 boosts, which are called, and these boosts, by the way, last for only the run that you're currently playing on. So if you fight the Bloons again on another tile, these specific ones are not going to apply. They actually do get a little bit more interesting, the rarer that they get, but this one specifically reduces the primary monkey's attack reload and ability cooldown time by 10%, so makes them attack faster, cooldowns are faster, and then the projectiles travel 20% faster. Now, actually, just for a second, back to our game, let me get the full auto. I'm going for the 024 because this thing recently got a buff to a shrapnel, so just want to play off of it as well. And let me do something like, can I have the village, by the way? I have the village so it can affect the sniper as well. Maybe like as close to Sada is... Oh, this is risky. You know, if I have the village like this, and then I upgrade to bigger radius, no, it doesn't reach. If I sell it, though, is it gonna reach on the other side? This, maybe. Oh, no, alright, no village, I guess. Or maybe we can go for a Monkey City, actually, because we're playing without... we're not playing on Chimps mode, actually, so we can make some money from the Monkey Town, I guess. Yeah, let's do that. Alright, so back to our video, and currently we're around 23 out of 25, and the previous one was up to 10 rounds. So something that you guys are noticing that these rounds, or I should say these games that you're playing in the Rogue Legends DLC, they're not exactly as long as, you know, normal BT6 games, which can go up to, well, this one that we're currently playing on is 80 rounds, and you can go up to 100 rounds, or you can go up to 140, actually, if you're playing bosses. So this is definitely not as long as a BT6 game. But something that you guys might have noticed while you're watching this trailer is that the rounds are different. And yes, the rounds are absolutely different from anything that we've seen in BT6, and we're gonna have to relearn these rounds. And even though you're playing a shorter amount of rounds than normal BT6, these rounds are actually quite difficult, and that was really surprising to me. If I could equate this difficulty to something that you've seen in BT6, there was this quest, which I forget what the name was, but it was essentially like about 30 rounds, and you have a very limited amount of money, and you're supposed to beat like all these crazy rounds. I think you get like DDTs in the 20s or something like that, and you end up with a 45 battle, something like that. That's not what happens in this DLC, but the difficulty is maybe a little bit less than that, but not by too much. So what I'm saying is that it was actually balanced really well, so that you have to think about your choices. Like, this is not just like some blind playthrough and like you just place your towers and do whatever you want. You actually have to think about the choices that you make, which is really nice. Oh, and by the way, finally, I bought the Elite Defender in our run, but I meant to do this. I meant to get the Monkey City because one of the things it does is increases the range of the village. So I'm gonna get the Monkey City so that we increase the range and we get the village Jungle Drones buff to Sala, which is I guess it would be cheaper to just buy in our village, but you know what, we're just playing on normal hard mode, so it doesn't really matter that much. Alright, so back to the trailer. We are back at this boost selection screen. It's a very interesting one because now we have a tier 4 tower, you have a tier 2 mortar, you have a 0-1-4 darling, and then you have this magic quickening boost, which they're gonna select. And actually, this is a very interesting one because we're gonna pause on this menu which they open, which is called artifacts and boosts, because there are a lot of things to talk about. So I think during the video I mentioned that you have these temporary boosts which only apply to the current game that you play, and then you have this permanent artifacts. So essentially, boosts are temporary, artifacts are permanent. You can see from this menu that they're opening. And actually, if you just go back to the screen of the towers that they have placed, they have an arcane spike wizard, I'm pretty sure. They have a, it looks like a rubber to gold alchemist, or at least a lead to gold alchemist, and there's also a 402 alchemist that they have on the screen. So you have 3 magic monkeys, and they only have 1 primary monkey, right, which is the Embrilement Ice next to Sada. Okay, so now let's open the artifacts and boosts, and let me show you guys something really cool that you can do in this DLC. So you guys see this permanent artifact called Unification Rare. So essentially what this thing does is that primary monkeys now count as all monkey categories. Primary monkey attack range is reduced by 10%. So essentially you're sacrificing a little bit of range, but you're getting something that's really cool, which is that all bonuses that apply to other towers are going to apply to your primary monkeys as well. You guys might have noticed that the artifact that they took in this specific teaser is called the Magic, you can see it here on the side, but it's called Magic Quickening. And so it reduces the magic monkeys' attack and reload time by 10%. And they have 3 magic monkeys, right? The Arcane Spike, the Alchemist, and there's 2 Alchemists on screen, right? But they also have this Embrilement Ice, and thanks to the unification artifact that they have, this boost is going to apply to the primary towers, which is the Embrilement Ice as well. And that is one of the many cool things that you can actually do in this DLC. That's so cool, actually. And I'm not exactly sure if there is a similar artifact for other categories. Like, for example, can you make the magic monkeys be primary monkeys? Because if that's the case, then you can buy something like a primary training village, and then the bonus is going to apply to them, which is just like some of these mind-blowing things. And then on top of this, you can see, you know, these temporary boosts like all tower precision. So they got 2 of these guys. They have a common and a rare one. So you can pretty much see the difference between a common and a rare one. It's about I guess 2%. So the common gives an 8% damage increase to all monkeys, and then the rare one gives a 10% damage to all monkeys, and then reduces the shot spread, which is, I guess, it's gonna be nice for some towers. Like maybe, I don't know, the Dartling is the first one that comes to mind, but I'm sure it works for a lot of towers as well. The last permanent artifact that they have here at the bottom is called Zig then Zag, and it's a common one. This is actually a really fun one. All military monkeys shoot in a zigzag pattern. Projectiles move 20% slower, but attack speed is 20% faster. And actually, this is like, it's kind of funny the way these projectiles fly out, but it's actually good from what I gathered and from what I've seen so far. It's not like that bad, honestly. You've probably caught on to this, but I want to mention it as well while we're here. So you guys can see that one of the towers, or I should say the starting towers in our party, have a certain price to them. And the prices, for example, for the wizard is $645, and it's a 002 wizard. Now that is a lot cheaper than if you would have bought a 002 wizard, you know, if you would have bought that thing from scratch, right? So essentially all of these towers that you're getting in your party, I did the maths, and they are about 30% cheaper, including upgrades, by the way, about 30% cheaper than their counterparts, which if you were to buy them normally, right? So essentially it makes a lot of sense for you to be using these things, right? Because you're saving a lot of money, which later down the line you're going to use for something else. And then the last thing that I want to mention is in these boosts. So obviously the boost, we have a 420 NG, which is a tower that they have selected from one of these, you know, from one of these boosts menu. And even though you can select it like you had, you know, the 014 Darting and the 202 Mortar, you're still going to have to pay actual money for the things. But again, because they are cheaper, it actually makes sense. If your defense is lacking, something like that, then you should probably go for that tower. And finally, Greg, the cave monkey. Yes, they actually found a way to put the cave monkey in the Rogue Legends DLC, and yes, you can actually buy and use him as you would in BT6, which is just like a cool one of these cool little small details in Ninja Kiwi style. And that is the trailer, and that is, well, pretty much, I guess that's about it, right? I don't want to talk about things too much, but there are a lot of things to be discovered. So for example, as you're traveling along the map is randomly generated, so you're playing a different thing each time you're booting up the game, which is really cool. And then eventually, I think they showed this in the last trailer, but you are fighting a final boss, which is gonna be one of the bosses that we have in BT6. If you've been taking care about your setup and you've been planning well, then you probably have a shot at defeating the boss, because this Rogue Legends DLC actually seems like it requires you to have some knowledge of BT6 and be, you know, somewhat decent at BT6 so you can play through this thing. And overall, it is actually a really fun system, which I'm sure that you guys are gonna enjoy a lot when it releases. So yeah, that's going for this one. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. It was nice talking to you guys about Rogue Legends, but hopefully we can actually make a video one of these days and I can show you guys what I'm talking about. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this one. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and I'm gonna see you on the next one.